I'm asking Jonathan a question to hit the recorder. So the recording is now on. Mandy is out ill today, and
Mandy's out ill, right?
Angela will take over when we return from closed session.
Thank you very much. So with that, we will roll call, please. Angela?
She'll join us after closed.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Paff.
Here.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Here.
Trustee Dawson.
Present.
Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Here.
Trustee Walton.
Is absent today.
Absent. Okay.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. You have changes to the agenda.
That I do, Mr. President. We have a revised consent C. The certificated assignment order has two positions, contract positions that we needed to add. Apologize that we had to walk this on, but it was important that we do this evening. So that will, you can either leave it on consent or pull it to action, whichever you prefer.
Well, board, I'm okay with leaving it on consent. I think that the changes are straightforward, but I am certainly open to either one.
I'm fine with it being on consent as well.
I'm okay with it. I read through it and I get it.
Same here.
Great, thank you all. So let's leave it on consent.
Perfect.
We'll keep that there. Move forward. If I can find the page that it's supposed to go in, we'll just kind of drop it there. That's perfect. You guys, once again, I'm shaking my head. You cannot see squat, but whatever. Perhaps you can. Okay, so with that, do I have Ralph?
Yes,
No, we're good. Thank you. That's the only walk-on that we should see, correct?
that's correct. Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
With the two additional walk-ons, so moved.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion was made by Christie and seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote there, Dr. Porras.
Trustee Paff.
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Trustee Dawson.
Aye.
Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Thanks. Okay, so we are good with the agenda at this point. We will go into closed session. In closed session, we will be discussing ever so briefly these 5 items: collective bargaining session planning and preparation for PGTA, collective bargaining session planning and preparation with CSEA, information regarding legal counsel existing litigation, and information from legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation. Also, we will have just a very short follow-up on superintendent goals evaluation. So, any public comment? Seeing none, let us move into closed session. Jonathan? Okay. Is Christie on? Yes, okay. Board, you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We are reconvening out of closed session. In closed session, we discussed planning and preparation for collective bargaining with PGTA, planning and preparation for collective bargaining with CSEA. We just touched on the 2 litigation items, and we talked about the superintendent's goals and primarily an evaluation process. With that, written communications. Board, I have multiple communications on reopening. I have one communication on let's see, athletics and scholastic grades. Brian, what am I missing? There's actually more than that by a lot, and I did make a note.
Yeah, I had lumped them all sorted together because some of them blurred the line between reopening preparedness and contract tracing and more in-person learning and you know, that I think that kind of fall into the certainly more than several category.
Okay.
You know, and then yeah,
You know,
GPAs, and then some relating to the survey of teachers on reopening or lack thereof.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn?
I was going to say, I actually had some time today and I went through really thoroughly all the written communications. Would you like me to report them?
Yeah, if you have information on them, sure.
If I may interrupt for just
Yeah,
a moment.
we'll come right back, Ralph, too.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So I had 36 emails counted from our last regular board meeting. So I'm just going to go through them really quickly. But I wanted to honor each of the the effort that was put into sending these emails in to us. So I made this kind of thorough list. But so we had one staff member who sent a thank you. We had one parent who was in support of the language program, one parent who was in support of the language program, but also had concerns about the exterior appearance of schools. I had 4 parents concerned about the high school hybrid program, specifically increasing in-person time, 3 parents supporting the CDC adjustments and extended day plan, 1 parent with concerns with inequitable school offerings for single family or dual working families, 1 parent hoping we can take baby steps to reopening to ensure staff have time to prepare, 2 parents concerned over PG middle school teacher prep days, 5 staff members with extended day concerns, safety equity, needing more time to prep, 1 parent with extended day safety concerns, 3 parents about the possible overcrowding or feel of overcrowding in the 2nd grade Robert Down classes, 1 staff member supportively asking us to make a decision and stick with it, 1 staff member supporting AM/PM, 5 teachers or staff members not in support. Now this is 5 teachers not in support of extended day, that stating that they do prefer AM/PM. 1 parent feel that teachers weren't supported at the special meeting. 1 parent felt the survey for extended day should have been sent out after a Board of Ed meeting. 1 parent felt survey should have been 1 question only, more specific. 1 parent asking about removing GPA requirements for sports eligibility. 1 teacher concerned with reopening details and the to-do list and district's ability to be ready safely. And 1 student in favor of more in-person learning at the high school. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ralph, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. If you would join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ralph, while Carolyn was talking, you started something. Was that it?
That was it.
Okay, thank you for the reminder. With that, board member comments. We'll go Brian, Christy, Carolyn. Brian.
I've got nothing this week. I think we've got a lot to cover again, and so just want to keep it moving. Oh, you know what? Actually, I do have one thing. Sorry. I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Schramm and his daughter and Isaac Rubin and congratulate them. I saw that the piece that they did was published and had a chance to give a quick read through on it. It looked really great. It read fantastic, and I thought it was a real cool look for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Ms. Dawson.
I'm going to stick with the original part of Brian's comments and move forward, please. We've got a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson.
Thanks, John. I wanted to acknowledge that Cesar Chavez Day was yesterday, March 31st. I wanted to mention, since the last board meeting, that I chatted on the phone with 3 different parents concerned about elementary reopening in extended day format, and was able to guide them to staff members so that they could get their questions answered more fully. And I just wanted to mention that Anyone who wants to chat on the phone with me is more than welcome to send me an email, and I will respond back with a date and a time. I do work, but I am able to kind of make that work into my schedule. And then I don't want to steal the thunder of the football game happening right. I think it's still happening right now. We have a shoe game in this very strange year occurring right now in Carmel. And I was able to hear the football sounds again, which I haven't heard in so long at my home. I live near the high school football field. I was able to hear some of those sounds yesterday, and it was wonderful to hear. And I think we do have one other football game coming up later in April, but these are games where there's very limited tickets. I don't even know if we want to call them tickets, but only really 2 folks can be spectators, and they're family members of the players and also the cheerleaders. But I wanted to acknowledge that we do have a little bit of sports going on, and that's it.
Thank you very much. I have no comments at this time. Dr. Porras?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll actually defer and just my comments really are appropriate for the COVID update.
Is Gabrielle online?
I don't think so. I don't see her.
Siri yet either.
I don't see her yet, no.
Okay. PGUSD staff comments on non-agenda items. Any member of the staff wishing to address the board on non-agenda items? Dr. Porras, if you have a vision of many people.
I do, but not for staff yet. We have, yes, we do have some staff. So it looks like Stephanie Lip is next up.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Stephanie Lip, Nutrition Director. Just wanted to give a brief update on food services as hybrid program is beginning next week. So the meals will continue to be free for all children aged 18, aged 18 and under through the end of the school year. And curbside meal pickup is still continuing Mondays through Wednesdays, but with a new time of 11:30 to 1 o'clock at the high school, Arkwright, and Robert Down. There's going to be a change at Robert Down with dismissal over at Pine Avenue. We're going to be moving Robert Down's location to Spruce and Fountain, and that will be effective next week. And St. Mary's will continue handing out the food boxes on Wednesdays at the 3 locations. And overall, curbside meal service is meant for servicing the distance learning children as well as the community children. And on Mondays, because it's asynchronous, it's to service all students. And for the hybrid program, we have a lot of different things worked out with the site principals. So at the high school and community high, the students will utilize curbside meal pickup and have take-home meals for some of the cohorts. At the middle school, the students will take home breakfast and lunch on Tuesdays through Thursdays. And on Thursday, they'll be given 2 days worth of meals. And at the elementary schools, grades 1 to 5 attending extended day will have lunch in school and will have an opportunity to take home breakfast for the next morning. And TK and K will take home their same day lunch and next day breakfast Tuesday through Friday. So essentially, if your child is attending an on-campus learning program and receiving meals from the school, please do not utilize the curbside meal pickup so that we don't duplicate meal service in the day. That's all I have. And we'll send this out in the newsletter as well and post it on the website.
Thank you, Ms. Lip. Ms. Mankey, I'm not sure who iPhone 3 is. So.
Good evening, everyone. Billy Mankey, Human Resource Director. And I want to take a few minutes and acknowledge our retirees. They are on the consent item, but I just want to publicly thank them for their service. They will each be greatly missed. We have Lynn Moore from Forest Grove. She'll be leaving us after 25 years of employment with PG. We have Mary Lee Newman from Forest Grove, who is a third grade teacher. She leaves us after 15 years. And Janie Lawrence, our middle school counselor, who leaves us after 21 and a half years. Collectively 71 and a half years of service among these ladies. And I just can't say enough and tell you how grateful we are for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mankey. Mr. Kelly.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I had myself unmuted the whole time. Just a quick Measure D update. We are still in the middle of receiving bids, and the last day to receive bids for the stadium and track is going to be Monday. And we'll be working with the group on Monday afternoon to kind of go through the bids and picking out the best field and package for us. And then we'll be bringing that package to the board at the April 22nd meeting. And again, we'll also be bringing another AMS contract to the board at April 22nd for the bells and the bell system at the high school. IMS, who's doing our HVAC testing, will be starting over spring break. And we're also in the middle of actively bidding K&L, which all those bids should come to the board first board meeting in May. And then also bidding the I1 culinary arts at the high school, and that should come to the board. That might come the second meeting in May. So just kind of giving you a heads up, and then we're going to start getting the newsletter out with the startup of schools. We fell behind on getting that out, but we're going to start getting that out and do monthly updates as well. So, and then one last thing with the stadium, with the new guidelines coming out with graduation, it'll put us a month behind on starting. So we won't start until the day after graduation, which is like June 3rd or 4th. And then that will put us getting close to that first game in the fall time too. So we're hoping to have it done, but not making any promises at this point to have that field done at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we know who iPhone 3 is?
I do not. It's not, I don't, well, it could be staff. I don't know.
I don't know if it's staff or not. Well, I'm going to assume it is not, and maybe that's not fair, but we'll move on. Okay, any other staff member that you see who's a host or raising your hand?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to individuals desiring to address the board. Public comment on any item of interest to the public within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board may limit comments to no more than 3 minutes for each agenda or non-agenda item, and a total time for public comment on each item is 20 minutes. Pursuant to board policy 9323. Public comment will also be allowed on specific actions prior to board action thereon. This meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. Please note the Brown Act limits the board's ability to respond to public comment. The board may choose to direct items to admin for action or place an item on a future agenda. With that, I have 2 hands raised. We'll start with Ms. McCullough.
Hi, thank you. First, I wanted to thank Mrs. Selvidge, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Miss Guyona, for the great senior breakfast on campus. That was the first time the seniors have been on campus in over a year, and I really appreciate the effort. They loved it. And second, I wanted to talk about, I know there's a lot of students and parents and even a lot of teachers that want to get the middle schoolers and high schoolers back on campus full time, like the elementary and Carmel district is doing. I understand that the concern from the district is the inability to contact trace if it's going to have the student body on campus. But I do think this is a little unrealistic since a lot of these students are already in groups outside of school, either at sports or other activities, where these groups are not subsets of the cohorts that are assigned by the schools. So I just don't think that should be a reason for the students to not go back on campus full-time. Now, if the school is still concerned and wants to wait on the tier change, or they're just want to make sure everyone's comfortable, that's understandable. But if the main concern is contact tracing, then I'm trying to understand the difference between the middle school and the high school hybrid plan. And why is it that the middle school is able to have kids on campus and change 3 periods in a row, yet the high school isn't able to do more than 1 period? So I think there's a really simple solution to that. And I've brought it up before to the board and to the principals, but you could simply have the morning cohort come on campus and stay on campus for 2 periods in a row. Same with the afternoon cohort, have them come on campus, stay 2 periods in a row. They could use wipes just like the middle school is to wipe the desks, or they could even just sit in completely different desks than the previous period. That would eliminate the 30-minute travel time that a lot of students and parents are really concerned about right now, or makes it impossible for them to come on campus at all. You could or you could reduce the time between periods to less than 15 minutes. And that would really reduce the exposure risk for these kids. And since the high school has outdoor classrooms and hallways, the risk for exposure would even be less than what currently would be happening at the middle school with the indoor ones. You could take the time saved in that 30 minutes and actually tack it on to the individual class time for more instructional time for these kids to be on campus. And by doing that, it's really easy. You wouldn't have to change the hard work that's already gone into the high school plan. And you could double, actually more than double the time on campus and instructional time for these high school students. And I'm hoping if that were the plan, the students would actually elect to go back. I understand a lot of the kids don't even want to go back to school right now because it's not worth their effort and time to go only for 60 minutes. So I really would hope that the board and the principals for the high school would consider this idea and have some discussion about it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. iPhone 3 has disappeared here. So if that person is still up, whoever you were, and
There they are.
okay,
Who's back?
you unmute whoever that is, please.
Done.
It's me, Todd Buller. I just wanted to give a shout out. I am iPhone 3. I've changed my name now just to be incognito. I don't know why it says that on there. It shouldn't be. A girls tennis team, Senora Buller and the girls are undefeated, 5-0. And so I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Sweet. Sweet.
Wow.
Nice.
Todd, thank you very much. And I'm sorry I didn't recognize you earlier when I was guessing. So with that, I see no more hands raised. And I would like to move on to consent agenda. Members of the public, at the beginning of the meeting, there was a change to the consent agenda and the certificated assignment orders. You know, honestly, normally that's available at the front door, but with no front door, I'm not sure how that gets distributed. Ralph, can you address that?
It gets posted on the website.
It's posted on the website. Okay, I don't have any strong urge to pull that now, but it will be posted. That is a change in our certificated assignment orders. We are adding an assistant principal at both elementaries to facilitate our days back.
Temporarily, Mr. President.
Rarely, yeah, it is through the end of the year. With that, do I have any other questions or concerns from board members on the consent?
Not at this time, no.
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 Thank you all very much. I open to public comment. Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion
Second.
was made by Christy Dawson and seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote.
Trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Walton.
Mr. Walton is not here tonight.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank
student
you.
advisory, if she has joined us yet.
Okay. Dr. Porras, you know the student advisory is coming in, correct?
Yes, we have a different person for this evening. Cameron Powley will be on in place of Gabriella this evening, and there he is. So with his hand raised. So hi, Cameron.
Okay, hi, Cameron.
Cameron,
And Cameron, you're a co-host, so you can mute or unmute yourself as you need.
Okay.
so roll call vote for Cameron Howley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. With that passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. We will move on to action discussion, district update in response to COVID-19.
President Paff, can I
Yes.
interrupt for a moment, please?
Yes.
I think when we went into this, we hadn't realized that Cameron Powley was our student representative, and I don't think we gave him an opportunity to contribute any comments like the other board members did.
He was not available until just a moment ago, but if you would like to go back and allow him to speak, certainly, Mr. Powley, if you would like to speak for a moment about board member comments, you're welcome to do so. We will take that moment here.
I don't have any comments at this time.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will move on. District update in response to COVID-19. Dr. Porras.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, it's interesting. Tonight, we have 69 participants, which is probably the lowest number of participants we've had in a long, long time. However, I'll still continue to provide some information for y'all. And I will be asking a couple of administrators to also chime in. We'll make this relatively brief because really there's not a lot of new information. Probably the most important part of it is we are proceeding with the instructions from the board at the last meeting. I think we're doing a great job. We're getting our preparation checklists completed, a lot of input from staff and really just letting us know what they need, which is great. I'm just really appreciative of the staff expressing their concerns and their needs to us so we can try to address them as quickly as we can. So we're working on that, and we'll continue to do so. I know the principals have been having staffing meetings pretty regularly to get input as well. And so we are moving forward, ready to open next week. The county metrics, usually talk a little bit about that. We are currently still in the red tier. Our case rate has gone up a little bit in Monterey County from 3.8 to 4.4. But from the county health department this morning, they're not perceiving that as a kind of a permanent trend. So it looks like we're in good shape. We have been advised that we are moving pretty quickly towards the orange tier, which is a good thing. So we'll see how that progresses, probably in a couple of weeks, I'm guessing, but my crystal ball is a little fuzzy these days. We'll see. One of the notices that came across this morning, actually about an hour and a half ago, the travel advisory that was listed by the California Department of Public Health that had noted, please no travel for 120 miles or further, has been lifted. There are new restrictions in place where I asked Jonathan Mejia to please put that onto the website so parents can get an announcement about that. They are still obviously advising no travel. They're still out of state into California, still making heavy recommendations in regards to what should happen. But that's an important distinction to be made. Again, I think it's a signal that the state is trying to open up as much as possible. One of the other guidelines that changed fairly recently from the California Department of Public Health were the graduation guidelines. They're not called graduation guidelines. There's a different name to it, but that's what we're taking them as. Previously, any event like graduation, commencement, promotions fell under the outdoor activity subset of the California Department of Public Health guidelines, the blue book, the blueprint. So you had to look pretty carefully to try to find where graduations applied. Now there's a little bit more information we have. The state is making allowances for schools to have outdoor or indoor activities. However, there's a long list of restrictions that are put into place. We've been going over that pretty carefully. Just as an example, we still have to follow the numbers that the county puts on for the amount of people we can allow into any venue based on the population. And so those numbers are still in place, but knowing those numbers help us to start planning what kind of ceremony we could have several districts in the county are planning on multiple commencement ceremonies so that they can fit small groups of people into their facilities. And some of the restrictions or guidelines that are noted include making sure that you pre-register people. They should only be allowed to enter with a ticket. There's a limit to the number of families that can be allowed, or households as they call them. There should be assigned seating or marked seating, and groups of household members should be separated by 6 feet at least, and so on and so forth. So we're really working through that pretty carefully. We've got the information on that. And I'm going to ask in just a little bit, Principal Garcia to speak just briefly on that. So I want to assure everyone, however, we are aware of it, and we do want to try to make it possible to have graduation here in our stadium. And so we're making as many strides as we can. So more to that in just a few minutes. The other item I wanted to make a notation about, it will be going on to the website this evening. The Monterey County Office of Education put out on their website a list of the schools in Monterey County reopening plans. So a lot of times we'll hear, well, all these schools are doing this or these schools are doing that. Members of the public can now go and click on any individual school and get a listing of what they're actually doing. I do want to make a notation that a few of the school districts, including ours, they haven't updated it yet from a couple of days ago, but that's supposed to be happening by Friday afternoon. So, but that list is there. It's a good reference point. So I encourage members of the public to check that out. You can refer to that. The other piece that I wanted to note, and again, this is coming from the high school, Ms. McCullough, I think referenced this a little bit in a sense. The high school really has been diligently planning their opening. They've been doing an amazing job with this. And again, their staff meeting this morning spoke volumes. All of the teachers and the staff members are just excited about getting kids there, certainly very concerned about safety, but their number one goal is to try to get things going. And in part of that diligent planning, we have a little bit of new information. So I wanted to allow Principal Garcia and Assistant Principal Steinbach to speak to that briefly, and we can go from there. So if you guys want to go ahead and take it over, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Portis. In regards to our current schedule at both high schools, we are moving forward with our current plans starting April 6th. We are looking at options that may equate to more time on campus for our students in a given day and week. We will still take manageable, stable groups into consideration, and we will be updating our school communities when more information is available. And as you stated, we did have a staff meeting this morning, and we are working through this. And as soon as the information is available, we will get that out. And if I can touch a little bit more in regards to our graduation. At PGCHS, our graduation is set for May 26th at 5 p.m. And for PGHS, it is set for June 2nd at 6 p.m. These dates and times will not change. And we are working through all of the guidelines that Dr. Portis went through just a minute ago to develop our plans for a more normal in-person ceremony in May and June for our two high schools. So I look forward to getting that information out in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And I would be remiss if I didn't also congratulate you both on the successful new students to the high school orientation. I had a chance to visit and watch that happening, and really just great work. Students were really happy to be there. It was fun to kind of just watch sort of them settling themselves back in, and it gave us, I think, some good lessons in terms of what we can expect as we get more students onto campus. So just please convey our regards and our thanks to the rest of the staff.
Absolutely, and I would like just to highlight that it was all Mr. Steinbach. He put that all together and got all the teachers and leadership kids and families to be there, and very, very proud of the work that he did this week on behalf of our new students.
And I will make one notation. it was odd and interesting that Mr. Garcia was never around at the same time Billy the Breaker was around. Couldn't find the two of them together in the same place. So just want to let you know.
Something to think about.
That's right.
And,
So,
and Dr. Porce, very quickly, I'd like to give kudos to our leadership team.
yes.
Our student and Cameron being one of them. A lot of great leadership skills out there, taking the lead, welcoming our freshmen in. And Dr. Hackquist did an excellent job organizing the event as well.
Nice.
And our freshmen.
Mhm.
Smiling faces is wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. So all being said, I think we're making great strides. We've got a lot of moving parts happening, and we are all of the admin team has risen to the challenge along with all of the staff to make this happen. My administrative team is the best in the business, and so appreciative of the work that they do in answering these questions and get things going. So I'm going to leave it at that, Mr. President, and we can certainly take questions as we go. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, that is sufficiently vague as to beg about 1,000 questions. Mr. Garcia, it sounds like you are working towards a plan to bring people back. Do you have a time frame on that? Do you need further direction from us? And is there anything else you wish to add at this point?
So we are looking at the possibility of starting after spring break. As I stated, we will start with our current schedule April 6th because there would be not enough time to adjust our current schedule as it's designed, with having the students come on for one period a day in A group and the B group. So we will begin the in-person learning with that model. And we are looking at doubling the opportunity, 2 periods a day for each group, and working through some of the logistics on that, which will need to be, well, one of them will need to be resurveying our parents, because we do anticipate that we will have more families and more students wanting to be on campus. And so we need to gather that information. So that's just one piece of the puzzle as we put it together. But after spring break, whether it's the first week after break or needing an additional week, but we can get it done in April.
Okay, and have you had essentially a open discussion with your teachers at this point in time already?
Yes, we held a meeting this morning, and we had over 40 staff members attend.
Okay, and I don't think I need a formal poll of your teachers, but the consensus was that this is manageable and acceptable. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I am also going to poll the teachers tomorrow, or the staff tomorrow. So I will gather hard data on where they land on this proposal.
Okay, well, with that, we'll move on to Christy. Do you have Ms. Dawson questions?
Well, I'm excited that you're doing that. That sounds wonderful. I know, I think all my years in high school, to get dressed up and pulled together for one period, I would understand why a lot of people would opt to just not come. So I would just speak to that, I don't know how much of an adjustment it would be. It wouldn't seem like much of an adjustment to go from 1 to 2. And it's more time with the kids on campus. And I'm very excited you're open to that. And I'm really hoping it can be done quickly and effectively.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dawson. Ms. Swanson.
Thanks, John. Okay, I've got a couple questions. Okay, so thank you for the graduation updates. I just want to clarify what I was hearing is the location is still pending, but the dates and the times are as set in stone as this year allows. So families can plan on that. Okay, thank you so much. And then, yes, about the high school schedule, the kind of evolution of it. that makes me feel good to know that you guys are working on that. That the transportation issue is really weighing heavy on me. Worried about kids who don't have transportation, who want to come to school but can't. And so I think extending that time in person on campus will help, somehow will help the kids who are struggling to kind of get there only for an hour. And now if they get there for longer, hopefully they'll have a longer time before their next class starts to also be able to get home in time for that. So please do. I know you will keep us updated. And I know it takes a lot of effort, but the sooner the better on that, in my opinion. I do have a question, since we're kind of on a high school topic. I have a school resource officer question. So we've got a school resource officer that we've been paying this year, and can we get a little bit of information on what, do we still have the same officer? Is it still Officer Hanks? And then what is his capacity going to be on our campuses?
Dr. Morris?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, Trustee Swanson. Thank you. Because that's we had more news on that very recently. We're not currently paying the SRO. We have a contract. However, we have not been paying any of the salary because he's not been in service to the schools. However, we got word from the chief of police and the new commander very recently. There is a big shortage of officers right now in the police department, and they will not be able to release Officer Hanks to SRO duties for the remainder of this school year for the last 7 weeks or so, because they simply cannot afford the staffing. They've upped their patrolling of the campuses. They're on alert as we need. They've already got a schedule of our events, sports, and that kind of thing, and have already made attempts to show a presence there. In fact, our chief of police has even thought a little bit about coaching one of the sports as well. So we've got a lot going there, which is great. It looks like we will be looking at the SRO returning to duty at the next school year. Again, pending the capacity of the police department to be able to field the officers.
Dr. Porras,
Okay.
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead,
the
John.
same thing. We have not actually been paying an SRO this year. We don't have an SRO essentially assigned. More towards that, with any of the schedules that we have, we still have we have one campus supervisor, correct, Mr. Garcia? One campus supervisor in place right now?
Yes, we have one in place, and we have advertised for a second campus safety.
Right. We're replacing someone who moved into another district position.
Correct.
Right. So with fewer students, there is certainly a little less demand, one would hope, for that position immediately, but we already have it posted and are looking. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Carolyn, go ahead.
Thanks. And then let's see. So I also wanted to follow up, maybe hear from Director Davies, if you see fit, about we had a lot of talk at our special meeting about the special education services and intervention services happening at the elementary level. There was some concern. If possible, if Claire is here, or Dr. Porras, if you want to speak on it, how is that coming?
I can ask Director Davies to speak to that if and she's available.
Yes. Hi.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Yes, we've worked through. Please understand that the teams were ready to go with the hybrid, and they had worked very hard to develop the schedules. And for people to understand what we mean, it's not only the resource intervention schedules, it's also the English language learner schedules, the gen ed intervention schedules, OT, speech, and working around the schedules of the other specials, music, art, library. So that's what Buck meant last time when he tried to explain that it's a master schedule. What's different about elementary and secondary is already compartmentalized into periods. So when you need to manipulate a schedule, you're manipulating blocks. So actually working with the secondary schedule, I'm not saying it's easy, but elementary schedules are actually much, much more complicated. So I'm pleased to say that even though the teachers have been working all week long and our wonderful administrators, they were working till 9 o'clock at night because I was getting calls that late. And they have been working out that we will be able to provide services for our students. The big overarching thing that has moved us forward as we have to do a shift in our thinking is we are no longer talking about cohorts. We are now talking about stable groups. And the guidance on stable groups is that a child can be part of 1, 2, and up to 3 stable groups a day. And so by understanding that with people being vaccinated, with being in the red tier, moving into the orange tier, that the very strict purple restrictions have been decreased. And so the teachers have worked out beautiful schedules. Our children that are served in our SDC inclusion program will have the opportunity to have their services rendered in the special class, but also join general ed for their inclusion. And our RSP teachers, which are intervention teachers, are working on schedules and will be able to see students in small groups in person. And the last round is our services such as OT and speech and physical therapy. That's still being worked out. It will be a hybrid. So some of the therapy services will be distance learning, virtual, I should say. Some will be in person. That's dependent upon the service provider and the child. So it's child by child. But I do want to say that all the students on IEPs are receiving the same number of minutes, instructional minutes, as our students in general education. And we are able to honor their IEPs. So we've made a lot of progress in 1 week, and that's because we are now in the red tier, which has reduced the former restrictions we were under when we were in the purple tier.
Okay, and then when you talk about the minutes of, I have a question actually about the specific minutes of services for kids on their IEP. So in other words, if a child had 30 minutes of speech in her IEP, are we able to provide 30 minutes of speech per week in her IEP?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. My last question is just, I want to follow up with Ralph on the school resource officer contract, because I remember that from June. I remember I wasn't on the board yet, but I remember we approved that. And I remember there was a dollar amount. So Ralph, do you mind following up with me in the next few days, and you can explain to me how that all works, why there was a contract signed, but we didn't pay it? I'm sure there's a simple explanation, but I would love to know.
Okay, well, I can address that real quickly now if you like.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
that would be even better.
That it's the contract just establishes what the pay rate will be for the officer, which is half of the officer's operating salary. Part of the agreement once we went into COVID was if we cannot use the officer in his regular duties, the police department definitely needed him. And so we would basically put our payments in abeyance because we're not receiving any services. He would still be paid his full salary then from the police department, and nothing would come from the district coffers, nor would we receive SRO services from the police department. So just consider the entire contract put into abeyance. June is typically the time when we see the SRO contract come to the board, and the police chief does know that. And so I think we can expect a conversation with the chief in regards to, okay, so assuming we can field an SRO for next year, what's the salary rate going to be, and is that going to be acceptable for the board? But for right now, the contract was put on hold. Literally, that's just put on hold.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and in the meantime, the police are a phone call away, of course, just like they are for any of our entities, any of our citizens, if we need them. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying, Dr. Porras. Those are all my questions.
No problem.
Mr. Swanson.
I'll keep it brief. A lot of stuff was covered, and some nice extra stuff. I appreciate Claire Davies' explanation of what's going on, and just an appreciation to Principal Garcia and Shane Steinbeck for, I know there are many voices out there, and I know you've been listening and hearing what's been said. I like the idea that you're taking a look at other options, but also I think the timing is right to be able to really examine those and do it the right way. So, I mean, that's really, yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Ms. Dawson.
You already covered me, John. I was number one.
Oh, I missed my spot. Thank you very much. Okay, so I have no further, well, I have one further comment. I would say that April 19th is a very nice day in general. So with that, we'll open up to public comment.
No one.
Ms. Jones.
Hi, Dana Jones. I had a question about, I've heard many different definitions of cohort, stable groups, and just as a parent trying to understand how many. Now I've heard tonight you said the kids could be part of 2 to 3 stable groups. I know at the elementary you're trying to keep them in a cohort with the teacher. The middle school, they're going to go to several classes. The whole point I thought of the high school was to stay 1 class per day. And so I guess just for the contact tracing and all of that, what is the regulation? And then also how many adults are interacting with all of those stable cohorts? If we're talking about the specials, we're talking about intervention, we're talking about the different people that they can now interact with. And it just is seeming like we're just getting bigger and bigger in terms of all of the number of contacts these children are having. And I know there's a lot of people that are mixing outside. There's also a lot of families that are not. And so I just want to make sure what is actually happening on the campuses and what the parents are being told is what is, is the same thing of what actually is going to happen versus the parents. So there's probably some parents that are on the fence about sending their kids back to stay into the stable groups. And then, there's people that, are fine with going back because they're already mixing. So just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Ralph, would you make a note of those questions very quickly, please? Ms. Gordon.
Hello, Karen Gordon at the high school, and I appreciate everybody's consideration about in talking about the plan at the high school. I'm a little put off by the comment that, well, it would be easy to just have them go for 2 hours a day or 2 classes a day compared to what the plan that we're implementing next week, and that just isn't really true. I mean, it's easy to think that as an outside observer. But as a staff member at the high school, I've been in this process all along, and every time we make a shift, it means another meeting, another voluntary meeting for the whole staff. It means hours of planning time before that to present what are possibilities from our administration. So Lido and Shane have been, also putting in all of these extra hours and very thoughtfully, considering all of the issues. And Lido also shared a document with the staff for questions and answers for us to, to share a document for all of the staff where we can put our concerns. And there are things like, and the document is now 5 pages long, questions about what are the logistics of what happens in that 30-minute period between classes. And does it really need to, is there a way that we can shorten it for the kids who are on campus? Because that's a lot of unsupervised time. But then that's a break for the students who are distance learning. And then there are, safety concerns, who's doing the cleaning, how much are teachers responsible for related to the cleaning, taking temperatures before the students come in. All kinds, bathroom usage, students are, instead of 1 hour, they're going to be 2.5 hours. So how are we going to monitor the bathroom? So, there are lots of, that sounds like a small thing, but there are lots of those small parts that have to be worked through and made sure that they run smoothly when we do have students back on campus. So I just want to make sure that we're being cognizant of that extra kind of mind energy and emotional energy that goes into thinking about every time we have made a plan and then we need to change it and modify. And, we are doing our best. I think the teachers in our district and our administrators in our district have done a phenomenal job of being resilient and going with the flow and making adjustments. And we do that because we are trying to do the best for our students, and we are trying to make sure that everybody is safe and our families and our community is safe, and not opening up too soon and spreading the virus, but opening up, in a mindful way that does take care of the needs of our students, and especially the social and emotional. So thank you very much for listening to me. And again, for, all of your support in the efforts that we're trying to do.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. I have no other hands up. Dr. Porras, can you?
My hand went up.
A hand went up. Ms. Deegan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to, first of all, thank you guys very much for all the hard work you've done to put these plans in place. The only question, and I want to support Julie McCullough and what she said earlier, but the question I have is, now that the high school might be implementing a different plan with more time on campus, a lot of parents chose to not send their kids back because they didn't think that it was reasonable to only go for an hour a day. Would we have the opportunity to change our minds?
Is this your only comment right now?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Garcia did say he would go back and repoll parents.
Okay, great.
Ms. McCullough. Thank you, Ms. Deegan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I know some of the people that are stressed about going back. I just want to say again that it's okay if you're not comfortable going back and you have a choice. You can stay home and do distance learning and you can choose something else. But for everyone else that hasn't had a choice this entire year, I really would appreciate us having a choice to go back. And if this is a scary change for some of the high school teachers, I understand that, but maybe the high school teachers can talk to some of the middle school teachers and those staff members that have worked really hard to make sure that they can get their kids back on campus for 3 periods a day. And maybe that will alleviate some of the stress they're going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. Ms. Parigi.
Hello.
Yes.
I have a child at the middle school, and I had a question about between classes, they're going to have 10 minutes. And so I was told that 5 minutes before their class time is up, they're going to stop, clean their desks, clean their computers, put them back on the shelf so that they're ready for the next class. See, a couple weeks ago, the time between classes was going to be 15 minutes. And now they decided that was too much time, so they cut it down to 10. I was hoping that they could put the 15 minutes back so that when the bell rings and class is over, then they could use those 5 minutes to clean their computers and their desks. Otherwise, they're chipping away at their 50-minute time, which when you bring that into account with the fact that they have to get there, get the computers for themselves, put them at their desk, take roll, you've probably already used 10 minutes of your time. So now you're 15 minutes into your 50 minutes. And I wanted to see if there was any way that we could go back and give those 5 minutes back.
Thank you for your question. Dr. Porras, would you have Mr. Roach reach out to Ms. Parigi, please?
I can do that, yes.
Thank you. And would you reach out to Ms. Jones, please?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have no further hands, so we will move on. It sounds like at this moment, you have no direct action required of us. Is that a true statement?
That's correct, Mr. President.
Okay. We will move on. Adoption of board policy and regulation 2365. So board, what we have is actually, we don't have a policy on recordings right now. And we should have a policy on recordings. We should have a time frame in which they are posted. We should have a time frame in which they are permanently deleted. In board meetings overall, the final minutes are the archived copy. So this is a recommendation essentially to adopt a new policy which gives us a time frame for both posting and for actual deletion of our video and audio recordings. Dr. Porras, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Mr. President, this was brought forward at the request of by a trustee, and what we did was model this policy and regulation after Hartnell, which actually several districts in the county model after, and that's modeled after other community colleges and districts throughout the state. The time is entirely up to the board in regards to the amount of time a record is kept. So these numbers can change at your pleasure.
Okay. Well, with that, I guess the policy as written on recordings, to me, I think the 90 days posted is sufficient, and I think I'd like to actually go about 6 months on the time frame before deleting. But there is a reason that you keep minutes and use minutes. They are a list of the actions that come from meetings without the discussions actually. And the actions are what they're for. So we'll start. Let's see, Carolyn, Brian, Christy here.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, this is a real short and sweet, very clear to me at least, policy and regulation. And I think since we're going to be moving forward and keeping our broadcasting, or in some form broadcasting and continuing these virtual meetings, I think this is fine. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson. Brian, Mr. Swanson.
So, Dr. Porras, this you said this came from Hartnell, is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
And do you know how old or when they drafted theirs? Is this recent, or is this something older from them?
No, they've had it for a while now. Yeah, it's not recent.
Okay. My concern about it is only that the distinction between how long something is posted on our website and how long we keep it, to me at least, isn't clear, and maybe I'm misreading it. You know, do you know where I'm going with that? It's just as I'm looking at it.
I think the way to think of it is that we'll maintain it, that people can access it for 30 days following the recording.
Okay.
And then at that point, after the 30 days, it will be taken down and archived, and the archiving lasts for 90 days.
All right, so we have 30 days actually posted online and then archived for 90.
Right, total.
This is the Zoom recording, right?
Or audio, yeah. Or
Okay.
just like the old, we used to preserve on an SD disk.
Yeah.
So.
And then the minutes following 90 days, we're just going to be referring to the minutes.
Correct.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I think that all makes sense. Again, I'm not sure it reads exactly that way, and I think it could maybe be punched up a little bit, but I'm interested to see what the remaining board members have to say about that.
Remaining.
Ms. Dawson.
Yeah, I guess.
The
remaining board member, it's just me. Yeah, I think the 30 days could be more explicitly stated. The 90 days is very easy. And I think that time frame is good. That's it.
Okay, well, that was quick. With that, I'll open to public comment. Well, seeing none, it's actually unbelievable that I'd say this, but I think that a longer period would be a little more beneficial to us all. But that's okay. So
I think the storage of it, the archiving process after 90 days, you can certainly, if you want to go to a half a year, you want to do 180 days. I think it's not so much the issue of the storage of it. I think it's just ultimately at some point in time, we just found that the archives that we have are so massive and really not necessary to hold them because we have minutes. So, staff can certainly just keep it archived for longer than 90 days. Just 90 was a cutoff that we found to be pretty usual and pretty regular. And so if you wanted the policy to read, any audio or video recording of an open and public board meeting shall be maintained on the district website for at least 30 calendar days following the taping and the recording. That on the district website, it clarifies where it's being held. And then if you want to change the after so many days, the recording will be erased. If that helps.
I think if we, President Paff, if I may.
Yes, please, by all means, because I'm apparently I'm not reading the correct version of this. So go ahead.
I'm just thinking if we could add even something at the end of it. It says, in summary, and as you were saying, Dr. Porras, then state that. It's like, just so it's clear again what it is, because it just doesn't read clearly to me that, these will be, for 30 days, board meetings will be, the audio-visual recording of the board meeting will be hosted on the PGUSD website. Following that, it will be removed from the website and remain archived for whether it's 90 days or 180 days. I'm fine with 188 or 180 days. That's fine. And then following that, the recording will be destroyed and the definitive record will be the minutes of that particular meeting.
Okay. Any other board comment on that?
Yeah, I don't understand keeping it as long as you're wanting to keep it. I mean, if you're hearing about the bulk of it and we've got the minutes, I don't understand why we keep it that long.
No,
When we haven't
I don't really
ever had
90
it,
or 100.
now we're keeping it a long time.
Okay, Brian, what were your suggestions again, please?
It has at the end of this, just something that's essentially says, in summary, and Dr. Porras said something akin to, the audiovisual recording will remain posted on PGUSD website for 30 days. Following the 30 days, it will be removed. A recording will be accessible and archived for X number of days, whether it's 90 or 180 or 135, I don't really care. And then following that, the recording will be destroyed and the definitive record will become the minutes of that particular meeting.
Okay. Carolyn, you haven't unmuted yourself, so if you have anything, I'll nod or something. No, okay, we're good. So Brian, would you like to make a motion as to I agree with that. That'll make it clearer. We can add that. And then do I have a motion to put in 30 days? Go ahead, Dr. Porras.
Before you do, Trustee Brian, do you want that on, where would you like that summary, on the policy or on the regulation? Not that the regulation is what defines the action, so I would assume you want it on the end of the regulation, but that's, okay.
Please.
Okay.
And it sounds like there's no strong feeling for anything past 90 days. I think 90 days is pretty, it's reasonable enough, so.
Keeping 90 days. Okay.
Yep.
Dr. Porras, do you have enough, if that wording is okay with you, and if you have it captured enough, or we can go through it again?
No, I think I got it, or a semblance of it that will be the same. So, yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve this with the suggested revision, or actually addition of a summary at the end of the regulation.
Second
that.
Yes.
Okay, motion was made by Brian Swanson, and I think Ms. Dawson was there first, so seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Paff,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
Student advisory?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. And I think having a policy, even if we revise it in short order for whatever reason, we need to have a policy in place. So thank you all. The next item is contract for services for surveillance grid of security system repairs. Board is, even though this is a fairly substantial packet item, I think the intent is fairly straightforward. We do have security cameras. We do require an update on them. We know that there are some voids, and Jonathan, unless you have a further update you'd like to suggest here, this comes from Measure A funds, really sufficient to do this. Get them repaired and move forward. So unless there are questions on this item specifically by board members or concerns.
I have a quick question. Just is this expected to be something that we'll see annually, or is it every few years that we have to roll through this, or?
I'll allow, I think I'd have Mr. Mejia answer that question for you.
So
please.
This repair would also buy support for a year, and it includes 2 camera cleanings per year. I don't anticipate seeing any need to go beyond that at the current moment. Once things are up and running and repaired, I think that'll hold us over for a couple of years.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, just very quickly, Ms. Dawson, anything?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Swanson?
I don't really have anything specific. I read through it, and I'm not a information technology professional. So some of these, I wish that I knew more. I wish I had more information. I don't think it's necessarily anybody's fault, but like I was reading this quote, and it says, maintenance includes 2 exterior camera cleanings per year. And to me, it reminds me of when you go to buy a car and they're trying to sell you some extra maintenance that you're like, what, do I really need that? The camera cleaning per year and a warranty for $4,500, it seems like actually a lot of money to me, and unless the camera cleaning is actually like technologically difficult. But if we're going to have somebody climb a ladder and clean it with a microfiber cloth or something, then this, I'm sorry, but I don't know where to land on this. I know staff's recommending it, but I'm kind of torn because I don't have a lot of information on whether this is a valid use of funds or not.
Mr. Mejia?
So while camera cleaning is not necessarily technical in the sense that they're not going to program something to self-clean, it is something that, because of our location, we do want to do. These cameras have not been cleaned since the time they've been installed. So because we get a lot of fog, because we get a lot of condensation on the cameras, and I know that it's been a subject between site administrators when we're trying to review something, and we can't get a good clear image because there's condensation, or it's dirty, or it's stained, and we can't really see as clearly as possible. So it is beneficial to clean them. It's not something that has to be done, every single or every semester or anything like that. But it is, we've had these cameras in place, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 4 or 5 years, and without ever once having to clean them. So I think that it'd be nice to use the same metaphor, to wash the car at least once in 4 years.
Ms. Swanson, does that answer
your? Not really, but I don't know. I think it's as good as it's going to get. I mean, I guess what I'm really thinking is, if we installed these cameras several years ago and they needed cleaning, why didn't we clean them? Are they in disrepair because we didn't have these in some sort of facilities master maintenance plan? Is it going to happen again? We're just doing this for a year. I guess I'd like to see more of kind of a kind of a thorough layout for the plan for these security cameras, because I agree with Jonathan. They're very important, that they're up, running, functioning, and maintained. I just, and like I said, I don't know if Jonathan can necessarily make me feel better about this item, but going forward, if we do need to have some sort of maintenance plan, I would appreciate it, because the fact that these have been in disrepair, it makes me nervous that the disrepair may come back again.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll open to public comment. Ms. McCullough.
Hi, I just wanted to say about the recordings of the meetings. We actually refer to them quite a bit, and you can tell by the number of participants tonight, a lot of parents are still working or taking care of their families. So I would really appreciate if the recordings could remain somewhere for access to the families for, I don't know, like 6 months or something. I don't know what the harm is of keeping them out there a little bit longer. It would really be helpful for the parents to have access to those for a while so we can refer back to them. And it would probably alleviate a lot of emails to you guys, because we can just go back to the board meeting and listen to what was said. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. I see no further hands. Well, okay. Jonathan, I think the point is well taken. If we need annual maintenance, we should be planning on annual maintenance and somehow bring that back. My assumption when I read it was you get a cleaning now and you get a cleaning at the end of the next year. And it covers us for basically 2 years, and then we have another contract that has to come back. So, but be aware that you're being asked to make sure that we are rationally planning. So I would say holistically planning. How's that? Okay, with that, do I have a motion on this item?
I'll move to approve the contract for services with surveillance grid for security camera system repairs.
Matt Kelly's trying to speak. Should we do that before we do this? Sorry, I was muted.
Mr. Kelly.
Sorry, I was trying to get in earlier. So the cleaning of the cameras is usually on the list of custodial for summer. And it's just one of those items that just doesn't get to before. The classrooms obviously come first, and getting to the cameras is last. And just summer's getting shorter. That's where guys take vacations most of the time. It's just one of those items that it just seems never be able to get to. So it does get scheduled. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I think we've actually done it like a couple times at the high school and not the other sites. So I just wanted to answer Trustee Carolyn's question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kelly and Mr. Mejia, again, I think that doesn't obviate the need for, if this is something that requires systematic maintenance, making sure it's on the list.
And I just kind of wanted to be clear, I hate to interrupt, where this contract is not designed for the purpose of cleaning cameras. That's included in it. The real issue is that this contract is going to cover is repair of existing cameras that are in disrepair, not necessarily because they weren't cleaned, but it also covers servers maintenance. We've already had to do a few repairs on some of these servers in previous years that we've had to pay for as a one-time. This would cover all of the work that needs to get done. We're not strictly buying this service to have somebody come out and climb a ladder and wipe a camera.
Okay, thank you very much. Brian, a motion was made, correct?
Yes, and
a second.
The clarification too from Mr. Mejia.
Did you second it, Mr. Paff?
I did not.
Second?
Okay, a motion was made by Brian Swanson, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Paff,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
Student Advisory.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. The next item is concerning additional Wi-Fi within our district. As pointed out, that the exterior of the buildings is not Wi-Fi capable. And the request here is to make that in place. AMS.net is available to do that. Jonathan, if you'd like to add to that.
The only thing I would add is that these were places that have become, especially now in light of COVID, some site, and working with site administrators, some places they've identified where if a class wanted to have a day out in I'm thinking of like the amphitheater down at the high school and do a class there, they would be able to have connectivity there outdoors as well to help with airflow and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. My question to you is SR2 funding. This is external funding, excuse me, that we have available. Is that correct?
CARES funds.
Pardon me?
CARES.
CARES funds. So it's one-time funding, but it's also a one-time cost plus maintenance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Swanson.
I love it. That's all.
Okay, Ms. Dawson.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Swanson.
I don't have any questions on this one.
Thank you very much. Let's see. I'm not routinely calling on Mr. Pally. Mr. Pally, any comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thanks. I will try and remember to do that, sir. Sorry. Okay, public comment, please.
Nobody.
Okay, seeing no hands raised. Do I have a motion to accept this?
I move that we accept the contract services with AMS.net for additional indoor access points and new outdoor Wi-Fi.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
student advisory.
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. Our next item is routine. It comes up every year. It is a tax revenue anticipation note. Schools get funding in just a few months. They get a large influx of funding, and the rest of it they kind of move money around to pay wages. And a TRAN, tax and revenue anticipation note, allows us to do that evenly and easily. This is one of just a few mechanisms available to us. We've had this TRAN for a long time, actually, for 13 years to my recollection now, at least, so probably before that. And unless there are questions to Ms. Chin Ben Dib, this to me is a fairly straightforward response. So we'll go with, let's see, Ms. Dawson.
Yeah, no questions at this time. I agree. Very straightforward.
Ms. Swanson.
Yeah, thanks, John. My only question to Assistant Superintendent Chin Bendib is, are there any changes to this note from previous ones, or is this pretty much identical to the ones that come up?
Pretty much identical, maybe the amount. We say not to exceed 7.5. In the past, we say not to exceed 7, but we always do a cash flow analysis when the time comes to see exactly how much we need. We don't borrow more than what we need.
Thank you, Song.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson. Mr. Swanson.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, very good. Mr. Pally.
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pally. Public comment? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion to accept the TRAN?
I'll make a motion to accept on staff's recommendation.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Pat,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
student advisory.
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. Also, for anybody who really tracks such stuff, this is the cheapest cost of money available to anyone ever. I mean, you may actually make money on trans, which is astonishing. Resolution number 1068, supporting people of Asian ancestry and condemning harassment, violence, and hatred towards people of Asian descent. Dr. Porras.
Thank you, Mr. President. As noted on the agenda, this resolution was proposed by a board member and asked to be brought forward for potential revision and adoption by the Board of Trustees. So we have it presented for you and open it up to the board to discuss the item and move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. So, you know, we get a number of these over a course of a year. Honestly, this particular resolution has stuff that to me is particularly stereotypical. You know, when we talk about model minority trap or high academic achievement, if we reverse that and put Irish at 1900s and lower academic achievement, we would never accept it. And consequently, I can't accept this as written. First up would be Ms. Swanson.
Yeah, thanks, John. So this resolution, I think, gives us an opportunity to spotlight our existing board policy that is a non-discrimination policy. And I think when these resolutions come up, this one, I believe, came from the California School Board Association. So it was created specifically for schools. And I think if there's one of the amendments in it that makes you uncomfortable, I think it's the second to the last one. I would be open to striking that one from it, but I do think that it's important overall for us to, as a board, stand beside our community members and make a statement when it's needed to spotlight our policy on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Swanson.
I generally support it. I don't think in a few places it's especially well written. My frustration with these has always just been, and I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's like, it's a resolution, you know, so it doesn't have any teeth, and it's not our job to enforce. I mean, we have measures that are already in place to make sure that discrimination and bullying don't happen. So, you know, in my conversation with fellow trustee Carolyn Swanson, we chatted about this a little bit. And, you know, the thing that I like about it is that it does point out what's already in place here within our district, that we don't tolerate discrimination and bullying. And, you know, it's been a very disturbing year. I have two daughters that are both from Jiangxi province in China, and I'll tell you that the events over this last year are absolutely real to them. And there have been times when we've been sitting around the table talking about these things and they've been scared. And those are, you know, that's just within my house. I can see that, and I can see the concern in their eyes and in their voices. And so if we need to pull something out that maybe doesn't work in here, let's figure out what that is and then see if we can all move it forward together. I would love to see that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dawson.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is very compelling, Brian, especially having children. You're keenly aware of what's going on. I've asked for this before. What I'd like to see is, even though this is going on right now, it's obviously very topical. I also think you can look south to the border and see mistreatment going on with other groups. I would love that the district have a zero tolerance for posted in every classroom in the district that says, no matter who you are or what you are, that you are safe here. You're safe to learn and you're safe to interact. And I think it goes a long way towards creating the environment that is at the top of everybody's list, that our schools are safe for students. Students don't learn if they're afraid or going through trauma. So I do think this is important, but I think it's important for so many different groups all the time. So instead of highlighting one group, I'd like to have this is done for all groups in our classrooms, and it can be written by sites, because obviously what's said in an elementary school is very different than what is said in a high school. So my feeling would be, I'd rather see something far reaching. We passed something tonight. It's all great. As Brian said, who sees it? Where does it go? It's sort of like our nice thing that we do in June after the kids are gone, that we kind of really strike a chord for, gay, straight, questioning LGBTQ guys, and no one's even there. So I'd like to see it where it goes to the students and it's there and it's part of the culture. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Mr. Pally.
I have no further comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll open to public comment. Well, I see no hands raised, so I bring it back to the board. With that, well, I guess I have no further comment at all. So if someone would like to make a motion, that's
Well, I'd like to comment a little further on here too. It's like, I think it's important that when we do this, it's done in a way, again, that we're all can be supportive of it, and that that just the words are right, and that we support it unanimously. I mean, this is something that's really important. And if we need to change it either in a small way, or as Trustee Dawson is saying, in a much more broad way, I'm hoping that we could get some buy-in from everybody on this. I mean, I'm not sensing a unanimous vote here at all. And I think what I would like to do is figure a way for us to, let me rephrase that, not I think what I would like to do. What I would like to do is bring this back in a way where it's something that we can get unanimous support from, however that is, from all the board members.
To be clear, I would support this. I think it's fine to have this resolution. It's powerful. I am saying we're all sitting around a bunch of adults and it gets filed away. I'd like to see it instituted in a broader sense. So I'll support this tonight, but I'd like more.
Trustee Dawson, do you think that would you be in favor of a future agenda item where we revise the existing policy so that it includes some literature in the classrooms?
I'm not so comfortable. I mean, we heard the other day with the Diversity Speaks thing that they had made some really great inroads. I feel like it's not our place to dictate. Like the English department and the history department, the different departments need to be open to hearing from kids. I think I'm not, it's not just about literature. I think it is literally, I mean, I like the idea of a sign in a room saying you are safe here. I mean, I made those at my school. I personally hung them in every classroom. It got wonderful results. Kids felt.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by literature. I'm sorry if that was.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about House on Mango Street to show Latino culture. Okay, you're talking about something being put up. I would love to hear about that or see what the various admin thinks about that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to adopt on staff's resolution, or sorry, on staff's recommendation, this resolution. And if trustee Paff is uncomfortable with the second to last paragraph, then my motion would include deleting that specific paragraph. But I agree with trustee Swanson. When this comes out tomorrow in the board snapshot and it's listed as a resolution supporting people of Asian ancestry and condemning harassment, violence, and hatred towards people of Asian descent, it's really important that we have a consensus on this, because I would hate for it to be misconstrued that somehow we are not in favor.
It's not about supporting, you know, I mean, clearly no harassment, violence, or hatred towards people. But the fact is, this resolution is very poorly written. It really requires a wholesale rewrite before I can support it. So.
Well, I would.
If you want, that's okay. You have a motion made.
I know we have a motion, and before it goes any further, just I'll restate what I'd said before. I think it's an imperfect document, and I would like to have one that goes forward with unanimous support from the board. So I'm not going to second based upon that.
I hear no second at this point. So at the moment we die for lack of. Sir? Who spoke up there?
Nobody. I think it was a mic.
Okay. If you'd like to bring this back with essentially removing the stereotypes that are permeated throughout, I'm certainly willing to revisit. So.
Let's bring it back. Let's figure out when we can bring it back and how we approach it to punch it up and make it better.
Thank you. We'll bring it back on the 22nd, Ralph.
Yes, I suspect some direction. Just as is, would you like it brought back as is for it to be reworked? Would you like a subcommittee of the board to work on it and bring it back?
Yeah, if there's a subcommittee of the board willing to work on that and bring it back, that would be terrific. I think that there might be two people willing to work on that.
I would be.
Okay.
I would as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you both. So we'll bring it back. Okay, thank you all very much. Board calendar, future meetings. Has anything changed?
Yes, Mr. President, we've added a fall meeting dates at the back. So again, those are the best guess we have, and they may change a little bit as we move in towards summer, but that's the best shot we've made so far at giving you a look at fall. So if you'd like to include those, then we would need action this evening to adopt that addition.
I'm sorry, what dates have you added? I'm missing it.
If you go to the back, it's on the last page.
I didn't turn the page. My bad. I ended at June. Thank you. Okay.
You know, it just goes on, President Paff.
I do, yes.
So we would add these new, so, okay. John, I am troubled. Oh, go ahead. We'll finish this and then I have to bring up something. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, well, board comments, anything missing, adding? Let's see, I think I stopped with Carolyn, so we'll start with Brian.
No, nope.
Christy?
No, thank you.
Carolyn?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Pally?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. Public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back. Do I have a motion to accept the board meeting calendar?
So moved.
Okay, a motion's made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Pat,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson,
Aye.
student advisory.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you all very much. Ms. Dawson, you had a comment.
Yeah, I don't know if we open for public comment on the length of time we keep the film. And I was going off a bit, Dr. Porras, with the bulk of keeping all that stuff. And I noticed later Ms. McCullough in a different segment, because there wasn't public comment mentioned, for families, it is helpful to be able to refer back. So I know you said we could bring it back at a different time, but I just wanted to say that if that is, I mean, I'm thinking of it as a board member being present, but if people are going back and researching threads through the different meetings, I just don't want to be too quick in what I said. I think I was too fast. So I don't know when we'd bring that up. I know you had recommended longer, John, which I argued, which supports that thought.
Well, what I would say is it has already been passed.
Okay.
We can visit at essentially at any time after 30 days, you know, we could say we do it. Now, it doesn't say you have to take it down. It just says it may be taken down. So we can further direct to keep it up 45 days. You know, things have been up now for over a year. So one question is, at what point do we start really pulling those down? But I would think we leave that as is. If you'd like to bring it up at another meeting, we can do that and revisit almost immediately if you wish. But it is.
President Paff, if I may.
Yes.
We did open it up to public comment and there were no public comments at that time. We did have a comment on our C at that time from Julie McCunna, but at the time that we had brought it to public comment for adoption of the board policy regulation 2365 recording, there was no public comment at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Lippert.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I think I have hit public comment appropriately.
Okay, sorry.
But it's not impossible that I missed, so thank you for the reminder. Okay, we go into review and discussion of elementary and secondary class sizes. There is no possibility of me summarizing this. Ms. Chinbendib.
Thank you, President Paff. Okay. Tonight it's going to be a co-presentation. Ms. Menke and I will be presenting this item. I will start with the elementary class sizes. This was requested by the board to take a look at our current class sizes. And we took 2 dates, CBEDS, which is the California Basic Educational Data System. In terms of enrollment, probably that's the date that CDE uses to quantify number of students, not average daily attendance, but enrollment, number of pupils. So we chose the date as one of the 2 dates to take a look. And then the other one is in January. And as we said, it was stated in the board packet, there's a random date. This item was pulled, and between when it was pulled at the last board meeting, between now, we didn't have the chance to go and change another date. But nonetheless, it's not going to be a lot of changes between January 21 and now. So with that, I'm going to start first to share the data to the elementary class sizes. Let's see here, share screen. Okay, can you see well?
Yes.
Okay. Forest Grove. And you can see the 2 schools side by side, and they are really categorized by grade level. And then the 2 dates for each of the schools. First one, they're both, the 2 days are within this fiscal year. Just for information, you have a lot of this information in the board packet. Whenever we present it, when we present either the budget, property tax dollars, when we update that on our website shortly or a few days after posting on our website, it has all the information. It may not be exactly in this format, but it's pretty close. So for example, CBETS, we do have the information. So for Forest Grove, TK, at that time is 17 number of students, January 21st, 17. And for Robert Down, obviously we know there's no transitional kindergarten at that school. For kindergarten, there are 6 classes. I'm sorry, there are 3 classes, total of 6 classes between the 2 schools, 3 of each school. For Forest Grove, it's not a huge difference. At the 1 day in first semester is 20 in 1, 19 and 18 number of students, total of 57. And then a few months later, it's 58. For Robert Down, 62, 21, 21, 20, and then 20, 20, and 19 for a total of 59. Fluctuations, again, is not great. I mean, it's huge. It's 62 versus 59, it's only 3 students. So that's for the 2 schools for the kindergarten level. Next is first grade. Again, there are 3 classes of each at each of the schools, 21, 20, 23, total of 64 students, first graders at Forest Grove, and Robert Down for CBET 69. And then for Forest Grove at, a few months later, 20, 20, 21, 63, and then at Robert Down 70. As you can see again, it's not a huge difference between the periods. Second grade, 21, 20, 19, total of 60. Robert Down, there are 4 classes of second grade, 20, 23, 21, 23, 20, total of 87. And then for the second semester, it's 57. It's not, they don't have, it's not like a secondary school, but nonetheless, it's second part of the school year, 2019, 18. And then for Robert Down is 85, a total of 4 classes. And this is a split among the 4 classes. Third grade, there are 3 classes each. In the school, 19, 21, 19, total 59, stay the same, it's just composition. The number of students varies a little bit among the 3 classes to 59, but the total stays the same. For Robert Down, that is 24, 24, 24, and 24, 23. But just real quickly in terms of K through 3, for LCFF school districts, we're not, because we only get a fixed amount, about $2.5 million from the state. The rest is coming from property tax dollars. Therefore, we basically get school district. But LCFF, the law is no more than 24, but it's up to 24 for most LCFF school district from the kindergarten through 3rd grade level. 4th and 5th. 4th at Forest Grove, we have 4 classes. And then same thing at Robert Down, 17, 18, 19, 21, total of 75. Again, it's the same in January. For Robert Down, 78, increased by 1 student at Robert Down. 5th grade, only 3 classes, 20, 19, 20, for a total of 59, and dropped by 1 student. And for Robert Down, it's 67 and dropped by 4 students, second part of the year. So this is a total 391, and then a few months later, 387. For Robert Down, 435, and it went down a little bit, 427. And then we have SDC classes at Forest Grove. Total number is 22 students. And for Mount Sevier, Robert Down's total of 8 students. Again, this number could have increased slightly now, but not a whole lot. And I think I'll just stop here if you have any questions.
Okay, board, whoops. Let me refocus the camera as I stand up instead of sit for a while. Any questions on those right now? Let's see, I started with Brian, so we'll start with Christy.
I'm going to have questions more specific to the classes, Song, but thank you for this, for showing. I appreciate it.
Carolyn.
No questions.
Thanks, Brian.
Just one at this point at least. So kindergarten first, second, third class size max was 24. And then what was it for fourth and fifth?
That's only per practice of what, collective bargaining agreement.
Yep.
There's not set by the state
Okay.
for class size reduction money.
Okay.
Okay. No other questions? Keep going, please. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the elementary schools, and I'll hand it over to Director Menke for the secondary class sizes. I'll stop sharing here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're moving on now to the middle school enrollment. We'll be presenting the middle school, the high school, and community high. And so you'll see that we went off the master schedule and by periods. Again, you can see the dates are October 2nd of 2020 and January 29th of it's actually 2021. I'm sorry, that's my mistake. We have the current enrollment numbers, maximum capacity on what the counselors put in for student numbers. And I do want to let you know that this is driven by student enrollment. The counselors, they are amazing. I think it gets more complicated the further you go in secondary schools, and they just do a tremendous amount of work placing students in classes and balancing and making sure that these kids have what they need. So so here, as you see, we have the middle school. We go down from our math support classes, English classes, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then on the next page, we go to, let's see, our English and transition classes, applied ELA, our learning center classes, our math support classes, English and social studies development, and our core history classes. And you'll see in our support classes, you'll notice a lower number of enrollment. And these are the kids that need support, need extra support, are oftentimes they could be behind, or they could just need a little boost. So you'll notice those enrollments are not quite as high as our regular class enrollments. We go on at the bottom, we have our core history, and then moving on to the next page, you'll see 7th and 8th grade history enrollment. Again, Learning Center, which is a 6 through 8 course, our integrated math, down to our regular math classes, math 6th, 7th, and 8th. And our student advisory, these are periods of time where our students can meet directly with their teachers. And Principal Roach can expand on this, but I want to say this is either new this year or new last year. But very, you can see very well received and highly recommended for students. Then we go into our accelerated math. Again, more advisory, our integrated math, advisories, accelerated math is on our next page. As well as our 6th grade, we have 6th grade science, 7th grade science, and 8th grade science. And then if we'll go down one more page, you'll see our PE classes, the numbers in our PE classes, and on to some electives. Our electives, we have an elective wheel, excuse me, keyboarding, our 6th grade art, our home economics. We go to STEAM and STEM and art, leadership, our computer bulletin, chorus, ELD, social skills, jazz ensemble, jazz combo, concert band, and symphonic band. And our next page, we move into our orchestra, our string orchestra, AVID, foods, applied science, social science, and life skills. So these are all classes offered at our middle school. And President Paff, I can go school by school and ask for board comments, or move on to the high school and you can comment on all at the same time, whichever you prefer.
I suggest you go on to the high school.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to high school again, you'll see our class sizes in the 20s. Our English 1 and 2, English 3, English 4. Our advanced placement English, you can see that that has quite high numbers. Our honors English, English expose reading and writing, and in honors English again. AP English, Lit, World History, Geography, on down to US History. We have our AP Government, and you'll see some of these classes are blocked out in the next, depending on the dates, because they may be a semester class. So and then they offset one another. So we have our AP Government, our Government and Civics, our AP World History, AP US History. We go down to Econ, Psychology, AP Human Geography, Math Support, Integrated Math all the way down, Integrated Math 2 and 3. We have our Honors Integrated Math 3. We go down to Pre-Calculus, good class sizes there. Our Integrated Math 2 honors class, Probability and Statistics, our AP Calculus, A and B, good numbers there. AP Statistics, AP Calculus, we have Anatomy and Physiology, we have Biology, AP Environmental Science, our Chemistry, our honors chemistry. You can see what I'm saying about our when they roll the master schedule, all the pieces that have to be put together. Let's see, this Earth and Space course, our physics course for physics, our AP Computer Science, Fundamentals of Success. And then we have our PE classes, our PE Strength Training, our inclusion courses for our special ed students, inclusion PE, our functional academics, life skills, independent productive study, excuse me, our French 1, 2, and 3. We have AP French and Culture, so we have a comprehensive French program. Our Spanish program is very robust, Spanish 1, 2, 3, 4, AP Spanish. Our leadership class. Then we move into our marching band and concert band. We have guitar, we have orchestra, AP Studio Art and Design, drawing and painting, 2D design, AP Studio Art, Advanced 2D design. And I'm not sure what SAS is, to be honest. But we can ask one of the principals after. Our advanced drawing and painting, drama, advanced drama, we have play production. And I'm told you see the numbers on the play production that we are not planning on having one this year. I don't know if that might change. Go down to culinary. Our culinary is a very popular program. And 3D design. A lot of these courses that we're talking about now, most of them actually are part of the CTE program. And so we go into culinary, healthcare options, therapeutic services, more foods with baking, then our photography classes, hospitality classes. We have AVID at our high school. We also have AVID at our middle school, if you notice that. And then our basic math class here, our special academic support classes, which includes personal management, transition program. We have ESL at our campuses. And then we have an open period here, which I believe is for students to get additional academic support. So with that, that is the culmination of the high school schedule. And then if we move on down to our community high, again, at community high, you're meeting students' needs at varying levels. So they could come in at into this program at different grade levels. So at different times of the year, they may be offering different courses. And so the student numbers could fluctuate. On an average, they have 19 students during a year, but that could go up. It generally, you'll see a somewhat of an incline in the second semester. It looks like it didn't happen this year. But we go through basically all the same courses that they would offer at the high school, just in, in a different manner. And so we have our English, our math courses, even you'll see here the things that, could be offered. At this point, we don't have anyone in geometry, but we do have students in algebra, integrated math, pre-algebra. We have our sciences, geography and world history, and our government and econ. We offer PE, computer arts. We have fine arts at the community high. It looks like this year we don't have enrollment in fine arts. We have our vocational ed, health, and electives. I know that you all have been on to the community high, and you know that they do projects such as jewelry making. We have people come in that assist with music. We have a counselor that goes over to community high and assists the students. So we really do try to make the community high, even though it's alternative ed and meets the needs of the students. They do have classes similar to the high school. Okay, so there it is. And if we can open it up to questions. I know if there are things that that I may not be able to answer, our principals or assistant principals can help us.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate both you guys presenting. And that is a ton of information to collect. SAS is special academic support, is that correct?
Sounds right. Sounds correct, John.
Right. If Shane or even Lito or Mr. Keller are on, actually, maybe any one of those could confirm that.
You are correct.
Thumbs up.
Correct. You are correct, Mr. Pat.
Perfect. With that, well, we're still on the same item, so I have no comments. I think that particularly at community high, you know, I've said this in the past, but teachers are binary. There's no really, they're integers. They're, you know, you end up with one or you end up with two. It's hard to have halves. Students are the same way. It's hard to have halves. And so you get into numbers, particularly at the elementary, where you say, well, we could potentially by contract have two classes, one of 23 or one of, you know, 28 and 129, or we can keep them at just under 20, but you really don't have much choices in between without doing stuff like combining a third, fourth, which we have done when necessary, but it's not a preferred solution by any stretch. So as these numbers, particularly at the elementary, to me, you know, we're pretty well spaced at elementary. I think at the high school, there's some ups and downs, but that depends on course load and course selection. So we'll go ahead with Ms. Dawson, which is where we started earlier.
Yeah, I have a few things to say. Thank you so much. First of all, I really want to thank you for bringing this back tonight. I know we tried to jump on it with like 5 minutes to spare last meeting, and it doesn't give it enough time. Here's what I would like to say overall. I think that this is an area that needs to be looked at. If we look over the past few years, half dozen years, our numbers have decreased student population wise, and our teachers have increased by, my memory was 5 or 6. So it's not that I want to overburden teachers, but I think we have many classes that are very low. I would ask that the high schools take a look at how offerings could be perhaps every other year for some things, Stats AP or other things that can be offered one year and on an alternate year. I mean, I would love to see things brought in to give the kids more options, computers, you know, writing, what is it, coding and stuff that might actually really benefit the kids. So some of these classes are shockingly small, and I would like that looked on. Conversely, PE in the middle school is insane. To have that many tiny kids, like 57 we had in one class, where other classes you're sitting there literally 3 or 4 kids. And I'm not speaking to special ed, I'm speaking to just small numbers every once in a while. I think PE, when as a district, we're asking PE to teach health, which you can argue how important is that class, but one of our key things on the board is mental and emotional well-being. And that's a great opportunity. There is no way you can have almost 60 kids and one teacher and have something meaningful. So I would look at that. I think those numbers should be lower. I think it would be much easier for the teachers and they can do a much better job. I know there's an aid, but I don't think it's quite enough. I just think we have to keep looking. Avid 2 and 12 with a number of 6 kids. I know it's a strong program in the middle school. I've been part of Avid. I've gone to the trainings with Avid. It's a fabulous program, but we have to look, how does that get down to 6 kids? I don't know. So I think in the long run, we do our students a favor if we look at these class sizes and maybe offer other things that could be more challenging or more support for students needing it. And I think that's important. And I think if we had fewer teachers, and instead of teachers having 12 in their classes, if they had 17, 18, 20, we could pay teachers more. And I think teachers would be happy with that. I don't think quality of education goes down if somebody has a class of 27 versus 22. And I think there are ways to kind of look at that. And I just like that for our district. So that's a lot of ideas, and I hope we can look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Swanson.
Yeah, thanks, John. I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Swanson.
I have a couple questions, at least one, maybe three, that are related to the high school. When I'm looking at something like on page 133, where I see period 6 AP Studio Art 2D and then advanced 2D design, and there's one student in each class, but they're both in period 6, I'm assuming, and also a period 6 2D design. Well, anyway, there's not just some of these, I'm assuming, are sort of combined classes too. We don't have one kid sitting in front of one teacher, right? I see Principal Garcia nodding his head. So
Yes, you're correct. Our wonderful art teacher, Mr. Kelly, has combined classes with a variety of students at different levels. So he's teaching everybody at where they are at.
I figured as much. So thank you for that. I mean, it would be interesting, and I'm not asking to see it because I think I know what I would see, is that if the information was just the information in that grid could be displayed in several different ways that I think would demonstrate other things too, like who's teaching multiple classes at the same time, or what's happening during this particular class at period 4 that might with other things that are only offered at period 4 that might drive down the attendance in this class. So I know that there's a rhyme or reason. I know damn well I wouldn't ever want to be in charge of trying to figure out how to do it, because it's incredibly complex. I do hear what Trustee Dawson is saying, that, you know, it's always worth examining. I also trust that it's always being examined. I think I'll leave it at that, because I think my assumptions as I was babbling on here were pretty correct again, that we don't have a kid sitting in front of one instructor, and I know one class offered at this time is going to impact a different thing that might actually be offered less, that's going to pull people away from other things. So I'll leave it at that for now, and if anybody else wants to, from the high school wants to comment further on that, I would love to hear it. If you know, whether it's you're right or you're wrong or you're close, but I'll leave it at that.
Do you like me to comment, President Pat?
If you want to, yeah.
You know, Mr. Garcia, sure, yeah. Let's ask Mr. Pally here, since this is probably near and dear to his heart, before you continue on, Mr. Garcia.
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on this topic, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. But
fair enough. We'll go back to Mr. Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Pally.
So, Mr. Swanson, you are correct in that we refer to it as conflict. So when we're building the master schedule, we look at where students are not getting placed in a particular period. And then if there are a multitude of conflicts, let's say in period 4, then we look at the master schedule and see what needs to be moved to a different period to reduce those conflicts. And we always want to work to give students their first choice, but there are times where it just will not work in a particular student's schedule, and they may have to get their second elective choice or something along those lines.
Great, thank you.
Okay, when you accidentally place the camera over your papers, you should turn it off before you move it around. Well, Ms. Dawson's correct. You know, we should constantly be reviewing and taking a look. The one that does stick out, you know, we do have a number of, she mentioned PE at the middle school, which has at least one class with 50. in one class of 31, and one does say, well, how did we get that particular disparity? Most of the others are not 50. None of the others are 50, frankly. So, but I think part of that is some basic scheduling and continuing to review. You know, we peaked out at about 2150 students, I want to say about 5 years ago. And if I go back further than that, in about 2008, I believe we bottomed out at about 1680. And Dr. Porras, you can either correct my numbers or confirm that those are at least plus or minus 50 and everything. You know, if we get down to 1650 again, then clearly we will be adjusting staff. But when I see numbers that are actually fairly reasonable, I think it behooves you to keep the opportunities that we have, just knowing that, you know, as we go down, these adjustments will occur, and they'll occur very naturally. We don't have to make we don't have to slice and dice it all. We just say, okay, well, you know, we have a math teacher who's available because there's really only 2 classes of 6th grade math this year, or something along those lines. Obviously, that's a made-up example. I see hands raised. Ms. Chin-Ben-Dib.
Thank you, President Paff. And Trustee Dawson mentioned about 57 students at PE classes at the middle school. I just want to clarify that's the maximum, unless there's somewhere the data. I'm looking at the column to the right, it's just maximum capacity. I see that none of that has exceeded 50 limit. The M579, period 1, PE. Just want to point it out.
Thank you, Ms. Chin-Ben-Dib. Ms. Mankey.
President Paffin and trustees, I just wanted to add a little more information that in master schedule building and in staffing, we start meeting with administration starts meeting with our site principals and counselors late December and January. And that's very early, but we get a good idea on what they think they're going to be offering. And then by February and March, it changes. And it still fluctuates quite a bit up until even May or early May. But we are, you mentioned keeping an eye on things. We do, you know, we do review this at the beginning of every year, and then I know the sites themselves are looking at it consistently.
Thank you, Ms. Mankey.
You're welcome.
With that, is there other public comment? Ms. Grogan.
Hi, Jessica Grogan, English teacher at the high school. I do just want to say that in the English department, we have tried to keep our freshman class sizes smaller because those students need a little bit more help and assistance. And it is different having 28 freshmen in a class versus 22. When I give feedback on essays and things, it is much more work to give feedback on 28 essays than it is on 22 or 20. So class sizes do matter, especially for my experience as an English teacher. I have a lot to grade. So class sizes and keeping them small does affect learning, does affect my ability to provide quality feedback to my students. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Grogan. I see no other hands up. I'd like to comment on what Ms. Grogan said just ever so briefly. I had a parent actually tell me how pleased she was with papers coming back from the high school English department that were clearly marked, and that her student understood the markings because they had been taught that essentially in elementary, which was, you know, kind of a fantastic thing to hear about how well it was working. So thank you for your efforts. with that, unless board, somebody speaks up, I'm going to move forward. So. Okay, we will move on. Future agenda items. Dr. Porras, you have an ad on April 22 to bring back the item.
That's correct. So I would ask that I believe it's trustee Brian and trustee Carolyn are working as a subcommittee on that. So we'll need to get that back to Mandy relatively soon so we can get onto the agenda. But in the meantime, we're going to placeholder for that of April 22nd.
Very good. I have nothing else. Yeah, I have nothing else to add immediately. So next on the list here, we're starting with Ms. Swanson.
Okay, thanks, John. I've got two things. I have a clarifying question about the brand new policy that we adopted tonight. Can you help me? For some reason, I thought that policies had a kind of a draft or a first reading and then a second reading or final reading. Are we not doing that for this policy, the one about recording and archiving?
Yeah, that's correct. Typically, there's a first read and a second read. Those are oftentimes, that's an option that one can choose to do. This policy is relatively short and direct. We didn't figure that it needed. But as President Paff said, we can certainly bring that back at any time and make any amendment on it.
Okay, I think, okay, then if I remember right, there was something about the timing for holding on to things. So I would like to I think actually we should bring it back. I think it would be a good idea to bring it back just as a final one. It won't take too much time on an agenda. And then we can allow for that accommodation if we want to move it for the time we want to save.
Well,
save it after hearing
a revision, but that's okay. Let's bring it back as a revision almost immediately. So
okay.
As in April 22nd, Mr. President.
You know, you're going to put down what we actually approved, and if we revise it next month, that's totally okay. So why not? Yeah, I mean, Carolyn's absolutely right. Just bring it right back.
So April 22nd, got it.
Sure.
Okay, and then I have, I did make a note that maybe we want to, I did hear when Trustee Dawson was saying that she wishes that we had like a little more of a, I don't know, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but what I was hearing was that she was hoping for a more robust non-discrimination policy, including putting something up in each classroom or perhaps going further. So if that's something that we can add to the future agenda item, I would be in favor of adding that as an item. I don't want to speak for Trustee Dawson though.
You actually did speak for me, and I thought you said it quite well, Trustee Swanson.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Christy. I didn't.
No,
okay.
you said
Sorry.
it. That's it. I think, yeah, I'd love to see more.
Ms. Swanson, are you good with we try and say let's have something in place essentially towards the fall, so we don't have to bring that back immediately, but we go through the one that we're looking at immediately, and then gives us a little time to bring something back for, you know, if we're going to put up in classrooms, actually have a time.
I'm thinking May, so it can be ready for the classrooms in the fall.
Okay.
May or June.
June it is. We have a June 17 meeting, right, Ralph?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Okay.
Yeah, but the teachers are gone. Yeah. Do we get input from sites, or that's important, I think? Or do we just say it's something we'd like to see and then later they can find a way? Yeah.
Well, you want to bring it sooner? Bring it sooner.
Let's do it in May. And that concludes all of my comments for this topic. Thank you.
Mr. President, just if I may, the district does have non-discrimination policies already in place. Do you want us to bring back one? I guess I'm a little unclear on what it is you would like us to do.
Ms. Dawson.
Yeah, the thing I was referring to is not a policy that's in a book, but an actual, perhaps some kind of document that's visible in classrooms, which is adjusted, obviously, for little kids up through high school. And I think it's nice to say that this is a safe zone or a zero zero tolerance, that you can't mistreat and there's ways to do it. They're all over the place. I've seen them many places. I mean, you can see them in locations for adults that you enter this zone, you're safe here. And I think that's a great thing. I think it needs, people need to look and think about it, how it would appear. But I would love to see that in this district for all kids and staff.
If I may, Mr. President, and
Yes,
we, if you like, we can, all of the principals are here in this meeting listening to this conversation. We can ask them to go back to their staff or their cabinets or the leadership teams and certainly just execute a practice of putting signs up that follow this particular lead. I don't think we necessarily need to bring it back as another item, but staff can certainly just proceed. I think we understand what it is you're looking for. But again, it's up to you.
I think that's great.
I have something to say about that.
Yes, Ms. Swanson.
So I was envisioning that we update the policy, the regulation that accompanies the policy, just so that it's in writing, so that it has the, for lack of a better word, teeth, so that we make sure that it gets implemented and stays implemented. Not that somebody wouldn't implement it on purpose, but as the years go on, I'm actually flipping through the policy binder as I speak, and it's this thick and it sits on a shelf. So if we can get it into this binder, I think it has better odds of kind of sticking around. So that's my 2 cents.
I feel that's a little heavy-handed personally. I don't know. I would like to strongly suggest it. And if we see that it's not, it's nowhere in sight, then maybe we go to the next step.
Well, where would you two like to end up here? Do we follow Dr. Porras' suggestion and suggest to that each site work and provide just feedback to us, or do you need a policy change request?
I mean, feedback is great, but we're policy makers. That's what trustees do. So if we find something that's important, especially that far reaches across the entire district, I say put in writing. That's my take.
All right. And I'm just going to say, we've killed our teachers this year, our admin, everybody else is exhausted. I'm not comfortable saying, get this done now. Here's what we want to see. I'm just not. I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I think we make a suggestion. And if as things get back to normal, we see that it's not anywhere in sight, then I'd love to discuss it in further depth. So it's up to the 2 men to weigh in now.
I don't think I'm required to weigh in, am I?
No,
And
but we got 2 different ideas here.
No, I don't have any further comment.
Well, so my suggestion would have been to bring back some statements in June and, allow us to just take a look and then say we put them up. If that's what you're looking for, is a placard that says, essentially policy, and I'm very fine with that. I think our existing policy, last time I read it, didn't strike me as missing anything, and we have teeth available, so I would not do it. On the other hand, this is another.
Well, we're on future agenda items, so that's what we're talking about, not whether we do this thing or that thing, but whether it's on an agenda or not, right?
Okay.
May?
Carolyn, you need it on an agenda? Yes?
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda.
Put it on the agenda. Let's still like it. Carolyn, I'm going to ask for June, okay? So after we're through, and we'll have feedback because the sites will have brought it back within. That's what we're requesting they do.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, Brian?
I've got nothing for future agenda items.
Okay, Christy?
Just what's been discussed. Thank you.
Ralph?
No, Mr. President, I think we have our marching orders.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Public, any comments, concerns? Public comment? Mr. Pally.
Yeah, I did have an idea, listening to everyone. I do like the idea of posters, but I feel like if we were to stop there, I feel like a big worry of mine would be that, I don't know, maybe people feeling safe wouldn't get exactly implemented. I feel like for me personally, being involved with sports and clubs has really helped me not to feel alone and not to feel scared, or maybe, you know, for example, with my basketball team, I get to play with guys I really like and be with a coach I really appreciate. And whenever I walk around school and things like that, I know that they have my back and I know that they're good friends to me. So I do like the idea of putting posters and creating awareness, but I also think it's important to really encourage sports and more clubs because those can be very beneficial. So.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, this was a weird year for sports and clubs for sure, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I believe we are adjourned. Thank you all so very much.